For the past few years, Architects has been one of the most loved bands in metalcore. I can remember in 2018, it seemed like everybody in the entire scene was talking about how great Holy Hell was.
They say the gods are no use in saying what it's...
But it wasn't always like that for them. In fact, Architects almost broke up before making Lost Forever, Lost Together. 2 albums earlier, they released Here and Now, and the reception was so bad it almost destroyed them. They were in a really dark place. Morale was shot, and they felt like everything could fall apart at any second. And that feeling of doom carried over to the next record as well. But then they made the album that changed everything. So today I'm going to react to the making of Lost Forever, Lost Together, and I'm going to talk about what happens when a band is literally fighting for its own survival in the studio and how those lessons can apply to you. For those who don't know me, I'm Eyal Levi, CEO of URM Academy. I've been a producer and the guitarist in my band DOS since 1999, and I know firsthand that the moments where you feel like it's all about to end are often the ones that define you. We also had Henrik Oud on Nail the Mix back in 2017, mixing Gone with the Wind, and so I'm familiar with that era of their production, but this is new to me. Let's get into it.
Obviously this album's a big one for us. I mean, it always goes without saying that every single record is a big deal because it sort of marks a chapter in your career.
We're coming off the back of Daybreaker, which sort of gave our band a bit of a lifeline.
It felt like after the Here and Now we were, I don't know, in a tricky position. Obviously Here and Now didn't please everyone, and it was uncomfortable for us, you know.
That's gotta suck when a band has momentum and then they put out a record that just does not resonate with the fans at all, usually because they changed their sound. And for a band that's used to being loved or who is on the up and up, to suddenly basically hit that brick wall, it's very demoralizing. So hats off to them for keeping on going. That's something that would have broken up a lesser band.
Just weren't feeling good. It was just a general ill feeling, lack of confidence. I think we've kind of got a bit of belief back.
That's something that's really worth noting. A lot of this is a head game. There's a reason for why national acts will almost always sound better than local openers side by side, even if the local opener is more talented than the national. And that's because the national has played over and over and over and over. They've done all the reps and they've built that confidence and their head is in the game. When you only play local shows every once in a while, you just can't build up that confidence. You just don't have that mental charisma built up. And so even if you play better or you're more talented, the sheer charisma of the national band is going to overwhelm you. It is what it is.
Tom obviously has written all the music that we've got for every album that we've ever done and ever recorded.
You know, I spent a lot of time at home, hours and hours and hours and hours, sat at home writing, demoing, re-demoing, changing bits, shuffling bits, scrapping songs.
R.I.P. Tom. He was such a creative force.
You know, Tom's always been the sole songwriter, and you know, he spent a lot of time sat at his computer demoing the songs. So the songs were really born on a computer. So we worked sort of just on files for a long time.
Lots of times, this is how it works in bands. Most bands tend to have 1 or 2 people who are the primary writers. It's not normal that a band will have everybody writing. Like you saw the Cannibal Corpse reaction, or if you saw the Cannibal Corpse reaction, you saw that Alex Webster was kind of the main guy writing, but actually all of them were writing. They were all contributing songs and they all worked on each other's songs. But in most cases, there's going to be 1 or 2 people that are the writers, and it's not that they don't want the other dudes to write. It's that the other dudes just don't start songs. It's like a personality type. Tom was the type of person to just sit down and get to work with writing songs. And if that's not you, that's okay. But just keep in mind, there are some people who are just wired that way. They just want to write, so they write.
I spent a lot of time just going down to a rehearsal space at Brighton Electric, just rehearsing the songs on my own, just with guide guitar tracks, basically just from the demos, the click track. I'm just working on small details, deliberating over fills and all that kind of stuff that only drummers care about.
It's great to see a musician actually prepping on their instrument. I mean, it's almost like, why is it refreshing to see? It's refreshing to see because sometimes I feel like modern bands don't always go through this kind of trouble, but the ones who do, it makes a huge difference. You know, if you're used to programming drums and then you're going to have a real drummer play your parts, it really is going to get better if they go through a time period like this where they're shedding on the songs every single day and getting better and making improvements. Like, the difference between recording a band who's done that and hasn't, it's a night and day experience.
And the one thing that we have actually done this time, which we haven't done before really, is we did about two and a bit weeks of pre-production.
So you get to hear the little nuances in the song that might fly under the radar a little bit when you're in rehearsal and it's noisy and, you know, everyone's playing it shit, everyone's playing it wrong.
That's exactly why I think that writing together in a room, Archspire style, is so difficult for metal, and why actually this method of writing, the Meshuggah method of just sending files through the internet and people working on their own, is it's not just that it's the new way of doing things, and I realize that there might be something lost, but it actually, there's a lot about it that is, I guess, more efficient and in some ways superior to working together, because metal live in the room together while writing is going to be really, really noisy, and you're not going to be able to hear the details. And oftentimes people will be playing wrong notes. Like, you think you know the riff, but you don't really know the riff. Obviously, I think that there's a lot of benefit to playing together. So I think the best of both worlds is a band who does both things. They take the time on their own, send demos back and forth, but then also play the stuff together in real life. Like, do it all.
We haven't done that really we didn't do that on Daybreaker. We did no pre-production on Daybreaker.
I think it's been really productive just to allow us to get everything where we want it to be before we're in the studio and you're on the spot. When you're on the spot, there's all this pressure, and maybe because there's the pressure and time is money and all that stuff, that you might settle for stuff that could be better.
That's very true. A lot of people who aren't under the gun with a label budget don't understand what it means to basically run out of time, run out of budget. I mean, I realize that even if you're not on a label, obviously you can run out of budget and time. It happens all the time. However, the difference is that you have a manufacturing deadline, and there's this company that contractually obligated you to finish this record. You got to deliver the record. If you don't finish, you're in breach of contract. You have to finish. So that puts a whole other layer of pressure. If people go in underprepared, or the parts are just harder than they were expecting, or, you know, they're just in their heads or something, that can lead to just having to settle for some takes and settle for some things that you're not that happy with, just because you have to get finished. It's not that you want to settle, but you have to finish. So doing pre-production and learning your shit on your own going into the studio can prevent that from happening. Good advice.
Demoed probably 3/4 of the album with him, which has been super, super helpful, and it's something that, you know, we really should do every album.
But this time it was good, you know. I feel like this record, you know, with Sixth Architects record, I've really learned how I can use my voice properly.
It's definitely improved the final product for sure. You know, it's nice working in a zero pressure environment. Obviously, when you're in the studio, time is money, and when we're at home, it's, you know, it's very relaxed.
Pro tip, when you're doing pre-pro, whether you have an engineer doing the pre-pro with you or you're just doing it yourself, take it seriously. Don't just fuck around. And I'm speaking from experience here. Change your strings, make sure that things are in tune, make sure that the cables are good, like, make sure that if you're doing vocals that you don't have all kinds of like weird reflections going on. Like, make sure you're not hearing your cat in the background. Just take the tracks seriously, because odds are when you're doing pre-pro, you're still in that initial writing energy mode. Like, you're still feeling really, really good about it, and you might have some inspiration and deliver a performance that is just magical that you're not going to be able to recreate. Most performances can be recreated, but there are those few magical ones that are that moment in time. And it would really suck if you're doing pre-pro and the guitar's out of tune, or the strings are just dead and it just sucks, or the vocal sounds really cool but some fan was on and like it's hard to RX and unusable. So take your pre-pro seriously, record it like it's the real thing.
Hey. Oh, that's it.
That's loud, isn't it?
All we are is just a name. Yeah, that's fine.
Is that quite loud?
Vocals quite loud, it could come down a touch, yeah. Sorry.
That's alright.
Everyone. Just want to get it right for you guys.
It's really important to point out how important a good headphone mix is for a vocalist. That's another thing that sometimes I feel like engineers don't take seriously enough. And if you're in a band, you're not working with an engineer, you're doing your own stuff, spend some time on getting your vocalist's mix right. Because what you just heard, think about this. Imagine if this vocalist was tracking, hearing what we heard just a second ago, the dry vocals, like this.
It's just a name. It's who we are.
Yeah, if he was hearing that, and I don't know, maybe he'd like that, but odds are that he would feel awkward and really on the spot. Now, listen to when it shows you what he's hearing. Giving them a headphone mix where they feel like they're a rock star and you take all the self-conscious bullshit out of it and they just sound great and they hear themselves and they're like, wow, that's great. You're going to get a better performance night and day.
So yeah, I mean, because we sort of worked separately and worked a lot through demoing on the computer, we actually only ended up having one rehearsal, believe it or not, together before we came up here.
We get sent the songs and obviously the guy...
One rehearsal, ballsy.
More often than not, actually, we would end up going down there and just practicing a different... It would be the same song, but it would be a different version every week.
It was fine. We just worked on a few little details, and you know, it's nice to leave a couple things open in the studio just for that spontaneity. And sometimes you can overthink certain things. So it was cool coming together, just working on a few details and just being in a room playing the songs together.
Yeah, even if they only really got one rehearsal, it really does make a big difference to actually have at least some time on the instrument with your band members playing the songs in real life, because then they're real. They're outside of just the computer. There's something that happens once you've actually played a song start to finish with your drummer and your other guitar player and your bassist and your vocalist. It gels in your head way better.
Obviously, we'd built up relationships with previous studios that we'd worked at. Obviously, we had a very tight friendship with John and Ben at Outhouse. So this, again, was like quite a bit of a step into the unknown, really.
First day, we get tracking, and it's impressive how fast Henrik and Frederick work. It's been really cool.
So they're going to go work with Fredrik Nordstrom and Henrik Oud, two masters of metal production.
I used to play drums, so it's been cool. It's always cool with Dan, you know, helping him get his kit set up and, you know, talking through ideas that he has, like what cymbals he's using, and, you know, I still have a big interest in that.
It's exciting to be in a new place and work in a slightly different way to how we have done with previous producers.
I just want to point out, look how well spaced his drum set is. I pointed this out in other videos, but look at the distance of the crash to the snare and his other crash to the snare, and like there's just so much room here. Leaving this kind of room and these types of heights make it way easier to mic the kit properly and to get really good separation. That's got really good pocket, really good groove. These guys play off of each other really, really well.
Me and I tried to sync up the bass with that new beat, and we're not going to be able to do it. It doesn't make sense with the chord changes. So we'll just have to play single hit sort of thing, or straight.
I appreciate how they're communicating here. So they had a versioning error on their demos, it seems like, where some members of the band were working on an older demo than whatever the most recent final copy is. And this happens a lot when you're sending files around to everybody. And actually, it's unavoidable. As much as you try to do that, it's just hard because people don't download new versions and reinstall them and like update everything. It's tough. It's tough. So invariably, this is going to happen to where people are working on two different versions of the song. And so seems like I can't tell who, but two of the dudes wanted a specific drum fill or drum accent thing that they were going to match up. But the drummer was playing off of a different version where that no longer is going to work. And so they just went back and forth and figured out the best way to proceed, which involves them changing their own part a little bit to fit the new drums. But I just want to point out how professional their communication was about this thing, where they were clearly not on the same page and put themselves on the same page.
Packing down drums after I've tracked is always a petrifying prospect, because that's sort of drawing a line under the whole process for me to a certain degree. You know, obviously I can be involved in other instruments and vocals to a point, but it's obviously not the same with drums. That's my thing, and once they're done, that's it. And obviously usually the drums are done first, so you know, you have a few days and then it's done, and you're sort of left thinking, right, is that it? You know, what do I do now? What happens? You know, I can't believe that's already over.
In my experience, drummers go home. They love that. It tends to be with the veteran bands. The younger the band is, the more you get the drummer that wants to hang around for like the next few weeks and just be there for everything. But it seems to me like the more veteran a band is, the more ready the drummer is to get their shit done and get the fuck out of there.
Great working with Henrik and Frederick. They're both really laid back, and there's absolutely no sort of egos or anything like that. They're just two really nice, normal guys.
They are very nice guys, and they are very laid back. They've got that soft-spoken Swedish thing going on.
And he's such a fantastic dude with vocals. He's really pushed me to get the best takes possible. He's definitely not one to hold back. If he thinks something doesn't sound very good, you know, straight away he'll be the first person to go, you know, that was shit.
It's good to know that the people that you're working with are on the same wavelength about how tight you want the record to be, and not letting little things slip through the net.
That's crucial, what he just said, that it's really, really important that whoever is producing your record, engineering it, be on the same page as you on how tight the record is going to be. Because think about it, with editing technology, there's a wide range of tightness that can be achieved. It's a decision, and everyone needs to be on the same page, because if you're going to make people do things over again, or you're going to actually say that a take is good, and then a member of the band is going to disagree with you, or you have a producer who's saying it's good enough, and the band doesn't agree, that leads to stressful situations. So it's good to be on the same wavelength. Obviously, sometimes you're just not going to agree. Like, there are some times when I think band members are being neurotic, where they're hearing something wrong and there is nothing wrong, and they just need somebody to say, yo, we got to move on. But the yo, you got to move on should be trusted, because you guys are on the same wavelength. That heavy tone is fantastic. And that's actually one of the things I remember from our Architects Nail the Mix. Those rhythm tones are something.
We had spoken to some other bands about recording here, and they all said it was amazing, really flexible.
It's nice to be in a new studio, and it's nice to kind of not have a clue what it's going to sound like, other than knowing that it's going to sound really good.
Everything they do sounds excellent.
I've talked about this before, but trust is so important when you're picking a producer or a studio to go to. Now, I realize that lots of times in the local world or lower budget world, you got to get what you got to get, and oftentimes it'll just be dictated by geography, like the studio's closest to me, and for what I can pay and for where I can travel to, gonna make do. But when you do have the money to work with a producer, it really, really makes a difference that you actually trust them, because like he just said, you don't know what it's going to be. They've never even been there before. You don't know what it's going to be, but they just know that it's going to be good. They know it's going to be good. There's none of this, oh, it might suck. I'm going to this dude, I'm paying him a bunch of money. It might suck, that's not even a consideration.
Everyone they work with enjoyed working with them, so it was an easy decision. And you know, I think that everyone who hears the record will agree that it's worked great for us.
Another thing I want to point out is they asked other bands that worked with Frederick and Henrik what it was like working with them, and got rave reviews from the other bands. Now, I see a lot of people who are trying to get known as mixers by doing like Facebook ads or spamming people or just trying weird marketing tricks. That doesn't really work. What you're seeing here is the way it works. Bands talk to other bands and word of mouth spreads. People like somebody's work, then they go ask someone that's worked with them, what was it like working with them? And they say it was awesome, or they say, well, the record sounds great, but this dude is a fucking monster and I hated my life. Or he's really fucking slow and smokes weed all day long, or super professional and super nice. You know, like bands talk about this stuff, and that's how the word of mouth spreads, and that's your marketing. Well, how do you get good word of mouth? You do great work for enough people that they want to talk about you.
One thing that really appealed to us that a lot of bands that we spoke to about recording here all mentioned was being able to record late. The studio stays open after the guys leave in the evening, and we're welcome to continue to track ourselves.
Wow, that's really, really interesting, because that would terrify me if my control room was left open and the bands could just work in it all night long. Not because I'd have a problem with them doing that and advancing the record, but more because I'd be afraid of something getting broken in the session and me not knowing what it was, and then how do I fix something I don't know? So maybe they have an engineer that stays there at night, or maybe they do a safety session that no one can access, that if, you know, all hell breaks loose and they totally destroy the session, you can always go back to that. I'm actually really curious about how they pull this off, because this is potentially a disaster.
Other studios that we've worked before, you know, when the producers go home, that's it. You kind of go back to where you're staying and you're done. But we have been staying like attached to the studio. So if we're having a good day, we can carry on and track through till like 2 o'clock in the morning. You know, you have a few drinks and, you know, it just kind of helps keep the momentum up.
So this is a tough one, because as a producer, if you have a band staying with you at your accommodations or in your house, this is their one time in 2 years to be making this record. They're far from home. It's not a vacation. It's like a work trip, but you know, they're at the studio. Why wouldn't they want to work till 2 a.m? But for you, this is every single day of the rest of the year. And you need to pace yourself, because if you start pulling all-nighters and get off a schedule, you're going to start doing a bad job. You're going to get burnt out more quickly, and things are going to be more chaotic. And the bands will actually enjoy working with you less, because you're not a very good leader and you don't have your shit together. So how to have working hours that are strict, but also let the bands feel like they can keep on working. That's a tough one. And so it's really, really cool that they figured it out at Studio Fredman, because honestly, it is true. Sometimes the best ideas do come late at night.
It's something we've definitely enjoyed so far, and I can imagine we'd probably like to try and do again in the future.
I enjoy getting stuck in with it myself and fussing over tiny little things that no one would even give a shit about, but it bothers me, and it's nice to be able to do that whilst you don't have anyone sit around rolling their eyes. Not that...
Devil is in the details. If it bothers you, you should fix it. I think it's a great thing.
What is that you was playing?
His muting game was really, really on point. If you notice, there were, besides what he had behind the nut, like, looks like there's some foam or something right here, but there's no muting on this guitar. And he's playing a lot of single note stuff and stuff with a lot of pauses in it and a lot of space, and it's super clean, super fucking clean, and razor sharp sounding. That is some good guitar playing and some really good muting.
On this record, Tom's had to play not only his own guitar parts, but the parts of who would be the second guitarist, as we're now just a 4-piece for the moment. But not only has he got that to do, but he's quad tracking everything. So his workload in terms of tracking is pretty intense compared to the rest of us.
Quad tracking. You have to play really, really tight if you're going to quad track. And just remember, it takes twice as long to get through rhythms. And oftentimes it's worth it because it's going to sound great. But if you're not dead tight with it, you're going to actually make it sound worse. So it's a decision you gotta do the pros and cons and see if you got good ROI on it.
We've actually gone through it so quick. Like, coming in with all the ideas already done and all the songs demoed has been such a relief. Like, it's been so helpful.
I think we ended up tracking the whole record in about 23 or 24 days, which is really, really fast for us. We've spent 6-7 weeks in the past tracking.
That's very fast, very, very fast.
You know, every album we've ever done, I think all of us would probably like to go back and change a little bit about something, or there's something that you think you could have done a little bit better. So it's just so hard to know when to go, right, let's stop, we have to leave.
A record is never done. I forget who said it, maybe Eric Rutan, that a record's never done. There just comes the point where they take it away from you.
Really frightening to say the album's done because it is never done. You just have a deadline. Well, you almost have to set yourself a deadline because it can go on indefinitely.
It could go on indefinitely. That's a very real thing. And so for those of you who are doing this on your own, independent, no label, no deadlines, give yourself a deadline and stick to it, because the only way to get better is to finish projects and do more. So come up with your EP, write your songs, but give yourself deadlines on all of them so that you can actually ship it. Meaning you finished it, that stage is done, write the next one. Give yourself a deadline, get it done. Doesn't matter if it's not great, the next one will be better.
It's nerve-wracking to sort of just put it out there, you know, being like, this is what we've been working on for the last year. This is what we've put all our hard work into.
Whatever it is that you do, it's nerve-wracking at any level because you're basically putting yourself up to be a target. People might love it, they might fucking hate it, and this is the thing that you basically are making your core identity for a little while. So it's psychologically tough no matter what level you're on. And that's another thing that I see slow down people who are trying to work their way into it. Their fear of being judged slows them down from releasing things. So they get into this cycle of there's no deadline, so they're going to tweak and tweak and tweak until they think it's perfect, because deep down inside they're too scared to release something because they don't want to get judged. The reality of the situation is you got to just get over it and finish and release, because you're going to get judged. If you're making music, if you're putting stuff out there, people are going to hate what you do. You have to learn to live with that. It doesn't matter what you do. It could be this YouTube video. It could be your band. Like, there will be haters. You just got to be okay with it and put it out, put it out, put it out.
So, you know, with this record, I just want to be able to keep touring. I want to be able to keep doing this as a job.
I just hope that a lot of people enjoy the record and it ends up being something that connects with a lot of people.
So there you have it. A band on the brink of collapse channels all of that frustration, fear, and pressure into a career-defining record. It's easy to sit there in your home studio, bedroom studio, and think that the struggles that you're going through are unique, but they're not. That feeling that that last song you released just didn't connect with people, that you should quit, well, newsflash, every single band you love has been there. And furthermore, Architects is proof that sometimes you gotta be in that headspace to do something truly powerful and honest. The trick is to not let the pressure paralyze you, but use it as fuel. Well, we're at the end of another one. Thank you for watching. Be sure to comment, like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.